Hi, everyone. Welcome to Two Film Shorties, a sophisticated lifestyle podcast hosted by us, two creatives living in LA. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. What's up? Welcome to another episode of Two Film Shorties. I'm your host, Jameela.
And I'm Rhym.
Yes, we're so excited to have you guys back for another episode. This is episode 6, where we are talking our first paid acting gigs.
Yes.
Exciting.
We'll be discussing our first big paid acting gigs.
Fun. You look good, girl.
Thank you. You do too, mashallah.
Thank you, mashallah. Hair glowing and flowing.
You know, had a hair wash day yesterday.
Oh, listen, how long are your wash days? How long do they take? Mine used to take I would give my Sunday or whatever to taking care of my hair.
Yeah.
Maintenance.
It's like actually being in the shower and washing is an hour
Sounds
and
about
a
right.
half, hour and 20.
Mm-hmm.
And then outside doing the conditioning, the
All the
styling,
things.
all that. It definitely, yeah. It's
Girl, don't do a hot oil treatment too on your own in your crib. I used to have a lot of hair, guys. I'm now a short hair baddie, but I used to have a big afro. And I'm having flashbacks of the wash days. But now
I'm so jealous. That's right.
I literally just the first time when I first cut it off, I just got in the shower and I was done. I was like, whoa, that was quick. I'm not using half the product that I was using, the conditioner, the shampoo, all the things. It's just like a quick wash. And I was like, oh shit, that's it.
I'm so jealous.
I saw this video though that was so funny. It was like this girl and another girl approached her. She's like, wow, you're so toned. Why your arms look so toned? And then she goes into like this flashback spiral. It's because she's always was doing her hair. Like, it's so real. And I was thinking like, yo, I used to get like ripped.
It's a workout.
It's
Real
a
talk.
workout. Now
It's arm day for me.
it's arm day. It's like the braiding, the brushing. But now I'm like, why am I a little bit more flat? I'm like, oh, we're not using these arms like we used to anymore.
I'm so jealous, I will say. But you know what? Like, I love this new hairstyle on you just because like we can see more of your beautiful face.
Oh,
mashallah. So, you know, and it's given like, yes, Halle Berry.
Period. Young Halle Berry. Halle, holla at me. Come see about me, boo. You want me to do a bio for you? Biopic? Let me know. Okay, let's get into it. My bad.
Oh, good.
Okay, so who wants to start it off? Should I start it off?
You should start.
All right.
I'm curious to hear your journey.
Yes. Okay. So a little backstory. It was a short film. How did I come across this? You know what? Actually, even before that, I remember this is around the time that I was working in my corporate job. I was a corporate baddie. And I was doing film things, but I also it was like a life crisis of like, this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like, I am not fulfilled here. Like, I could have easily climbed, alhamdulillah, but I was like, yeah, this is not the career path that I want for me. And then I decided to take a chance on myself. And that's when I was like, yes, all right, we're going to jump. And I remember I spoke with my boss at the time, who's like another mom. And I was like, yeah, girl, we had a real relationship where I was like, yeah, girl, I think I'm going to leave. And she was like, oh, word. I was like, yeah, I think it's that time. But she was like, I support you in your dreams and your endeavors. But right before that conversation too, I had already wrote out my letter of like resignation. And I had it taped to my mirror so I can give myself that time for like, you're going to stage left, like you're going to leave. So I had that up and, everybody was terrified. You know, fam was like, why are you going to quit? Health insurance? What are you going to do? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm quitting. I'm going to go pursue acting full time. And I quit. Great response from my boss. So supportive. Literally after I quit, I got my first agency. And then I had this audition. And then I booked. So it
Your
was
very
like,
first one?
yeah, it was my that's when I knew. I was like, oh, I'm in alignment.
Yep.
That was like my sign of like, oh, because it came so smooth and easily. And it's like another example of like, just jump, it'll work out. And so, yeah, that was my very first, the first paid gig that I had was this actual short film. And I remember my audition. What's crazy is it was in the height of a certain movement and the character also was Muslim. So then I think it just felt organic and natural. And I'm not going to sit here like, that's why you got the role. It's like, because there was a lot of Muslims who are obviously acting and stuff. But I booked that role and I remember my audition take, My acting coach, who was also like he was my teacher at the time, Jeff Cole, he really helped me get comfortable with it because I was taking classes obviously at that time as well. But he got me to a point where I can actually like get super emotional and vulnerable. I was crying on camera.
Oh.
And it took a long time for me to get to those points. Like I'm a super sensitive, emotional person and I'm super empathetic, but that was a real breakthrough type of thing. And that actually was what she told me. She was like, that's what got me the part.
Wow.
So yeah, I submitted it and then I got the role and it was a short film. It was going festival circuit. I need to actually follow up with her. She's really, really dope, the director. And yeah, how was I on set? Was I nervous?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a little nervous because it's nerve wracking. It's your first time really out here doing it like that. And I do remember that actually it was storming that day and we had a scene that was supposed to actually like we had a lot of things that were supposed to take place outside. But I remember this particular scene she had to rewrite on the day of like on set because we just couldn't shoot outside. So my nerves started freaking out because I'm like, oh no, new lines. Oh,
did y'all get to rehearse at all?
We rehearsed a little bit, yeah.
Before that day?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So we did rehearse. I got to get with two of the actors, but it wasn't much rehearsing either.
Okay.
So it was like a little nerve wracking. And then it's like, oh, she's like, here's the new script. I was like, fuck. Then so I was worried about my delivery, my performance. But it all worked out. It worked out really, really well. I made friends. There's people I still keep in touch with till this day. Actually, one of the folks and I ended up connecting with, we ended up working later on. And that's when I started doing more producing. And that's when I really started getting into my producing bag. And I was doing documentaries at the time in Atlanta. And so, yeah, it was like a really good start of getting in. So not only was it a paid gig, but it also started opening different doors for me and allowing me to explore more into what I would want to do in film. So, yeah.
How did you feel about playing that character? Like, had you done, I assume, obviously you had done some kind of like character breakdown work but how was it different? Like your expectations of what a set was and then like when you showed up, at that time, like what was your thoughts on like what it felt like to be on set and then like how was it different actually in real life?
Oh yeah, I think the mechanics of it was really different. I think you think like you just come, you show up and you're on camera, like because I did a lot of theater, but that's a totally different space, obviously. And then you did extra work, but you're just in the background or whatever. But it was like the mechanics. So like knowing my cues, where to stand, that was different. Trying to make sure I'm not focused on camera, you know what I mean? And you're like actually in the moment with the characters. So that was really, really different for me. That answers your question. And I'm trying to think about what else. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to ask actually, like, for example, like we all have a sense of like, especially like growing up, if you loved movies like we did, like, what you thought being on set was going to be like, especially seeing behind the scenes on big movies.
Yeah.
And then like when you show up on the day of on an indie film, like what are some of the dynamics that were different?
Oh yeah. Do I even remember if we like really, like we had a crafty table, but it was like, wasn't too much. I know it was like, the lunch was like something pretty simple, if I recall. It was quiet. It was a very small crew. Of course, I was nervous, obviously, but yeah, it was just very quiet, very small. We only had like, I think we utilized like 2 rooms. And it felt like it was kind of quick, honestly, if I recall. It's been so long, guys, but yeah, I had, I knew because it was a indie and short, like it wasn't going to be a big budget. I knew it wasn't a big budget type situation, but I do think that you do go in thinking things are going to look a certain way of like, it was a gloomy day. Everyone was amazing. Everyone was a vibe. I loved everyone, but it was like a gloomy day. It was just kind of more like quiet. I think that was that her first actual, I think this was her first. So
her first film.
I think so. Yeah. Like actually that she's putting out there. And so everyone's kind of like a first feel type of vibe. Yeah. So I think we all were just kind of like vibing and everyone's trying to figure it out.
Was it a 1-day shoot?
Yeah, mine was 1 day. It was 1 day. Yeah. If I recall, it was 1 day. For me particularly, it was 1 day. We did all our all our things in one day.
Okay.
Yeah. Or no, maybe it was 2. It's been a while, honestly. I can't. Yeah, it was 2.
It was a 2-day shoot.
It was 2 days. I think it was 2 days.
Yeah, that's awesome.
If I was wrong and you watched this, my bad, honey. My bad. But yeah, it was actually. And I think what was different was I had a little bit of nerves around the character. So it's interesting because it's like the content or the conversation that we were having could have been something where people were like, you shouldn't even be creating stories like this. And that's why I really appreciate her, because it's the conversations are swept under the rug about women's experiences in spaces of like sexual assault or
this was Muslim women's experiences.
This was a Muslim woman. Yeah. And it was based off of real events of like experiences in communities when it came to religious leaders and how they interact with women. Sometimes they're always not, you see that in all faith spaces. They present one way, but they're not the other way. And so for a lot of folks or Muslim people, it could be like, you shouldn't even be talking about stuff like this.
Yeah,
so I think
it's taboo.
So it's taboo. So then, but I also am someone who's like, no, let's talk about what's real. Like, but it came with that in a sense of this might get a lot of heat, and I'm taking on this role, and I'm participating in something, this story and this narrative. You know what I mean? It's like
the risk
that I'm taking, but it's also like, but these are conversations that we need to have. It's not the majority, and we know that's not everybody. And I think there's enough representation to show Muslim leaders in positive lights. But yeah, it was like, I'm now putting my name on something and acting in something that is problematic, I guess you would say. So that was also like, interesting that's my first like real paid gig, and I'm going in this space and in an area of like taboo, and what would my community think if I did this? What would my family think, Yeah. But I was also like, it was given to me, and I this was my role, and I think it's a conversation needs to be had. So that was actually a big thing too. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, I realized that was something I had to sit on, like, if I take this role, this is the start of many, but it's like, and I think that also allowed me to know that I don't want to always play it safe actor. And I want to have real conversation discussions, but I've always been that person where I like to talk about the things that are swept under the rug that are harming our communities in whatever spaces that they are. I know I'm supposed to be a voice for the voiceless, and like this is one of those situations. And so it was like, if I do this, what was happening? It's like, nah, bitch, you gonna do it,
I love it that you were so courageous in your first paid gig. I mean, acting gig, because that's being bold right out the gate.
I was ready. Just threw myself in it.
What was the feedback after you did it? Was there any heat that you got, or the filmmaker, like, was there in the community?
No, from what I know, it was great feedback. I didn't really hear anything. She told me good things about it. I think my performance was mid, but
don't say that.
We can be hard on ourselves too. But
there's something about like money involved. I think when you're doing a job, that kind of like adds to the nerves.
Yeah, that too. It's like, this is serious. It's not like you're a student film and someone's like, you're like, credit. That's the thing. It's like, it's not like just a regular credit. It's like, I'm getting paid. Like, someone's trusting me enough to like do my job. I had to do the job. So I had to know that I'm going to execute on the job because they're paying me to do this job. That is a really great point. So add that to it. That is so real. And it was a lead. I was a lead. It was a lead role. Wow. Yeah. And I was like, do not fumble this, Jameela. Do not fumble. We keep in touch. So yeah. So I guess you don't hate me. I guess it was decent. It was good. And it was overall, the film was really, really great. The short. And I think it just tapped into a lot of areas that we needed to discuss as women in society. So yeah.
In her process, at least from what you saw in that movie, like you said that because it was such a controversial topic, how was it for her to make the film, like get a location or cast from your POV? Like, did you notice anything that might have been challenging for her because it was a different take on the Muslim leaders?
Actually, if I remember our conversation, it was just more, she's also a very gives me F the system type type of girly. And
we love a rebel.
Yeah, and she was just also someone in a sense of Islam doesn't look one way in a particular sense. And the fact that she was even bold enough and she had a supportive husband and like to be able to say like, I'm going to go into doing more writing and creating films and telling stories. You already got to be a certain type of level of dopeness and like boldness to do that as a Muslim woman and be like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. And I don't remember if they had moved at this point, but I can't remember. I think they traveled into state for this actually and shot it in Georgia because the majority of the actors were in Georgia. She was somewhere else. I'm not going to say where she was from. But that's all I can remember.
Okay, so she shot this for her. She was from out of town.
Yeah. If I recall.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting.
If I recall. Because Georgia's a big film, it was a
hub.
Big, so if I recall correctly, sorry, sis. This was like this was some time ago, y'all. So yeah, but that's what I remember. Again, I told you I have terrible memory.
It's okay.
But yeah.
No, I love that for you. How would you say from like then to now, how would you say your acting process has changed? Obviously growth, you evolve, but like
less fucks to give in a sense of I got comfortable with a lot of the rejections and the no's, and it's more of like you just got to keep going, just got to get a flow. From when I started, I think I've always taken like rejection pretty well, but I mean, I think that just comes with like upbringing and at what I was involved in school and sports and stuff and criticism. But we can say like, oh, it's no big deal. But I think back then it hurt a little bit more when you don't like book as much. And if you do book, you get super, super excited. I do still say I get excited about projects that I'm able to book and like, because obviously they mean something for the most part. But from then to now, I think I'm just more comfortable in myself. I think also I've been evolving as a woman as I've grown. I'm not the same Jameela I was when I shot that back then. I think I also have a deeper understanding. I feel like if I would have played that character now with what I know now, I think it would be a totally different character. Yeah. Because I think one, I have been more exposed to a lot more things, good and bad, which provided wisdom and clarity in a lot of spaces. Just gaining knowledge, understanding how society works, understanding what it looks like as a Black woman in America, as a Muslim woman, or just as a woman in general. And yeah, like I just would play and it's been some years, maturity, wiser. I could have approached that character in a different light. I also had a scene where it's kind of like I'm such a fan of this imam, and when he like tries me in a way that I never saw coming, I look like, oh, I could have played that a little differently too, instead of just the initial shock reaction, like, well, what are you doing, So yeah, I think that's something just now that the world is also your education, like is also a teacher for actors. Like you can just learn and study people. And I think now too, with development, as far as my emotional maturity and also allowing myself now to understand my emotions and my feelings and how I can express it. I see now there's so many different ways you can express yourself. Yeah. And I think as an actor now, I can apply that compared to when I took on that role. I was probably 1, 2, 3 notes of only way of like expressing myself. Yeah. But I didn't really know because that's when I got into therapy later and started learning more and then just evolving as for oneself. So I think that kind of gave you a runaround.
Yeah, no. That makes sense. It's the fact that like life really does affect your acting choices. Yeah. Maturity affects your acting choices. I love that you hit on the point about actually except being better about rejection, like growing thicker skin.
Thicker skin. That's exactly the word. So it's like, yeah, growing a thicker skin about it. And I'm just going, just keep auditioning, keep submitting. Yeah. I think that was, from then until now. And just, and also, I knew like being bold in that, like taking on that role, I'm not as, if it was me, even though I did it back then, like I did it, but there was still so many like elements of like anxiety or nerves or fear that's not there now. It's really like, fuck all y'all. I don't give a damn. Like, I do not care. I don't care. Like, oh, you don't like, I don't like that you're doing that. Do I? I don't care. Like, it's not for you. It's not for you. You know, where before it'd be like, how would everybody feel? What will the community think? I don't know. It's like, okay, well, I want to be mindful of you guys and take in consideration family, community, friends. I don't want to ever take on a role or do something that doesn't show a positive representation. But sometimes, you know, that's not my intention not to, but it's also like, I'm not going to stop myself from. So yeah, now it's like a different space of like, all right, whatever, bro. Like, it's my life. You know what I mean? So there's that.
Keep it pushing. Yeah.
Excuse me. So yeah.
I love that. I actually now want to see it. I feel like we should do a session where we like see our first.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like,
Lord have mercy. I'm going to find it. It's somewhere on a hard drive. I'm going to find it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, what about you?
Yeah, you know, mine was a little different. You know, if we're talking about, you know, because like you, I had done theater before and you know, had done a couple of indie things, but they weren't paid. As far as like my first kind of major paid acting gig, it was actually a show. And it was How to Get Away with Murder. Now, I was just like a background, like featured background actor actually for that. I hadn't really done background work.
Can you explain the difference between a featured background and a regular background?
Yeah. So,
for people who don't know.
Absolutely. Now, I'm not like a casting director. I'm not a pro, but, you know, a background is, you know, extras, actors that are, you know, brought in to be placed in the space, right, of a scene. And then you have featured background, which are ones that are featured. Exactly what that means. Basically, you're kind of pushed to the forefront a little bit more. In my case, I was one of the core featured background, and there was 5 of us. So you had your general background actors, but then you also had us being the core featured background actors. So the 5 or 6 of us were always around the main actors. So they made sure to place us. And I actually played one of the law students with the leads. And so I was always placed in the, you know, I went through wardrobe to be dressed like a law student with them. And I was basically in almost every scene for the pilot. So this was for the pilot, which was shot in Philadelphia, in Philly. And I think we worked on it for like a month. And, you know, I was super nervous when I got the call for it, because again, I hadn't really done any. Actually, at that point, I hadn't done any extra work. And so I didn't really know what to anticipate. And it was really fun, especially being like in all the scenes and kind of seeing on such a grand scale what a set looks like was really awesome. And I think that was probably the best paid gig I could have gotten as like a first time paid gig, because the pressure wasn't really on us. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and so I got to pay to be on set to watch everything happening. And it was really, really fun. We didn't, as featured background, we didn't really get lines, but actually I think halfway through filming, I was given a line, and it was actually for the opening scene of the pilot where Viola Davis's, you know, character kind of walks into a huge classroom, like an arena.
You remember what you said?
Yes, actually, it's so funny. So I was placed kind of like in the middle, in the back. So if she walked in, like we were right there, and it was like I was seated behind this like girl in front of me. It's so funny. She was like this really cute white girl, and I remember them telling us like, oh, actually, like it would be really cool if like you guys engaged, and maybe I think they wanted to maybe like open up with us in the forefront reacting to her entrance. And so I remember the line was something like, so, you know, Viola walks into the classroom, and then we're all like on edge, and all the students are super nervous, and we're all like, oh my God, you know, she's legendary. And we hear she's like, you know, a wolf. And I remember, the line was something like, I think I say first, like, I heard she like flunks everybody on the first test or something to that nature. And then the girl's supposed to look at me and react and be like, I think I'm going to throw up. You know, it's like something like really like dramatic and hysterical. And so that line, actually, funny enough, because they gave us that line and, you know, we delivered it, and there were a few takes of that, that made me SAG eligible.
Hey.
And funny enough, afterwards, when the pilot aired and we watched, obviously they took that line out. They cut us out. Like, you know, we were on the chopping block, but it's okay because that was never supposed to happen. I think they were like, that's the one thing also I learned was like they were playing.
They're trying to see what works.
They were testing. And that's like really awesome. And so, but I remember, and of course, that's the first time, you know, I got to see Viola Davis in person too.
Yeah.
I was trying so hard not to fangirl.
Aww.
And
I'd fangirl over her too, girl.
She was actually really kind and sweet to all of us, you know, like as extras, which was also really just really reaffirming.
Yeah.
And you know, she just hit her points. Like she just was like, hit her marks. She showed up. She did. It's so funny because like in that scene, I remember she walked up to the whiteboard and she was like writing something very like aggressively and ferociously. And she wrote the wrong thing a couple of times. And it was really funny. I think she was writing about, I think it was a case study. And instead of writing the person's name, she wrote like somebody else's name that is like a famous person. And it was really hysterical. We all laughed. So there was a lot of moments of like relief.
Yeah. So she would be like in character writing the wrong thing and afterwards like, oops, my bad.
Yeah. And she would like crack jokes, in front of like all of us. And we would just laugh. And I think she was so human and relatable and kind. And that was like, wow, I really, that's my first time being on set as a paid actor, but also like with a famous, with a celebrity actor. And that couldn't have been like the best, it couldn't have gotten better than that really. And she just was, she was amazing. She was really, really, really kind. And, I'm the type of person that like, I don't fangirl like a lot, but my fangirling is like, oh, that person's so cool. They're amazing. And like appreciating from afar. Yeah. So I always respected like space. Yeah. So, I remember there were a couple of like other featured extras or featured actors that, background actors that they'd be like, should we go up to her and like say this stuff? And I was like, keep me out of it. Cause
I'll be over here, baby.
I don't want to be involved in that. But it was so funny watching everybody else's reaction to her too, and I remember particularly, I feel so bad. I forget his name. The male actor, I think the lead student actor, he was the black guy. He was so sweet. He was so kind. Yeah. Like this goes to show I was never like, I liked Harry Potter, but I was like never into it like that. And so, I remember, I think like the first or second day, of shooting, it was an exterior shot. We shot outside, actually in front of City Hall in downtown Philadelphia. And, it was freezing. It had to have been like February or something. So it was like super cold, right? And I'm out there in like a dress or something. And all of us were placed around, the students. And he was there and I didn't really know, because as an extra or as a background actor, you're not given the script. You're not given like even really like the premise of what's happening. You don't get a lot of information. So you go in kind of blind. And so I didn't recognize any of those actors either. The only person I recognized truly was Viola. And he was really tall and he was really sweet. And we were all outside, together huddling around them. And I remember like, I just kind of struck up conversation with him, not really knowing like how big of an actor he was. And he was so kind. And then I think he noticed that I was like super cold. So he like gave me his jacket, which was like one of those like huge Canada Goose jackets. And he was like, it's fine. Super warm. And he's like, put it on, it's fine. And then like, give it back to me later. And I was like, oh, thank you. And like that kind of kindness, I was like, oh. And then later when I found out who he was, because I think all the other extra actors were like, oh my God, do you know who that was?
It's like, nope, I really don't.
like, I really don't. I'm terrible with that stuff. But they were like, yeah, it's him. And I was like, oh, you know, you can be a really good person on set, and you don't have to be a diva to do your job and to do a great job. So there were so many moments of great learning moments for me on that set, you know, and what's really funny.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was like, did you do any of like your prep, like how we were talked about in the past? Like, what were you doing up in like the night before? Or were you like, were you nervous? Like, what were your thoughts the night before? Like, did you do anything outside? I know as extras, like, there's only but so much you can do, like, obviously. But how did you feel?
I mean, I was really excited, you know, because I knew it was going to be a big thing. I knew it was a show, and it was going to be a big set. And so I was like brimming with like just joy, and I was excited. And, you know, I wasn't given a lot of information. I don't even think they told us like Viola was going to be there. They also wanted to keep it kind of hush hush for like security reasons. But you know, I did, you know, I made sure I got some sleep. I made sure I knew my route to set and back or whatever. So I did like the research I could do with the information I was given, but I was super just nervous and excited, you know, and you know, the other background actors were actually really cool. I remember we kind of all became friends afterwards, you know, and hung out a few times. They were all really cool people. And, you know, one thing I did notice though, between the featured actors, like 5 or 6 of us, and the rest, is that I think a lot of us had more experience and being on set. So, you know, when we were in holding, waiting to get on set or whatever, like I noticed a lot of us did like kind of take direction pretty well and were kind of with it more than like the other background actors that may have like, you know, never been on a set ever before. And
sometimes they just take the job. I've been around folks be like, hey man, I just was off these 3 days and just wanted some extra bread. I'm like, I respect it. You know?
Yeah. You know, and so that's one thing I clocked. The other thing I do want to mention actually, now that I remember, is that the director for that, you know, for the pilot was Michael Offer. And at the time, obviously I didn't know who he was going to, you know, who the director was going to be. He's amazing. So sweet, super eccentric, like loved him. I swear to God, like a few things that I noticed was like every day he had like a different scarf on. It was just like such
aesthetic,
a fun, like wardrobe choice. He always had like a cool different scarf on, and
his scarf collection crazy.
And like his vibe was just so chill and cool. And I, you know, and the other thing also is like whenever we were in person and we were talking, especially in like closed spaces, I remember he would come up to me and he would like kind of like, he wouldn't touch me or anything, but he would be like, he would like put his hand on my face and be like, oh, you're just like a little lamb. And I was like, a little lamb? What does that mean? What is that?
What do you mean?
But he was so attentive and so cool, and he kind of like got to know us a little, especially like the core group, the core featured actors. And we'd have like, all of us would have like a little bit of like a rapport with him, which was really fun. But he'd just be like, oh, my little lamb. It's like,
what do you mean?
What is that? And of course, in my mind, I'm like, you know that diagram, that meme of like the woman with all the formulas, the math formulas? In my mind, I was just like, wait,
little lamb.
Hold up.
What does it say?
Yeah, what does that mean? Is that code for something? But he was amazing. And to watch him on set, he was just so laid back, you know? And at that time, I didn't know he had done so many other shows, but he was such a pro. And seeing all the crew interact with him, I absorbed so much. I tried to be like a sponge. That's really what I went in with. I was like, oh, I just kind of want to like learn as much and see what it was like. And it was just really fun.
How long was it that you were?
I think it was like every day, Monday through Friday, we shot for like almost a month. Okay. It was a lot. It was intense. And like, it was so weird because after that, I felt so like I missed everybody and I missed being on that set. And I was like, oh my,
great sign.
You know, I just was like, I got such withdrawal.
It makes a difference when you're on, like, that's how you know you enjoy what you do and you love what you do, when you're just like, you said long days for over a month. It's like, I love showing up every day. I'm having a good time. Everyone's great. I'm just part of it. That's how you know you just really love what you do.
Absolutely. And the core group, like us, we were all like, I remember in holding, we'd all like try and figure out what the storyline was. You know, we were like clocking and paying attention during the scenes when we would hear everybody say their lines. And then we'd play games, and it just was really fun. I mean, even the wardrobe department was hysterical and so fun. You know, I remember I showed up, and I think the key stylist, I think at the time, I forget his name. He just was like, okay, honey. He just was so like, he was so spicy. I loved it. He just was like, okay, Miss Grad Student.
Okay, period.
You know, you could tell everybody was there, long hours, but we all had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And to go from that to like my next gig after that, which was I was the lead in a indie feature film. Low budget.
Mm-hmm.
So great though.
Dope.
It was called Consumption, and I think it did some festivals.
Okay.
And it was such like a different vibe, obviously. And you know,
key differences.
TV versus film, obviously different as well. Yeah. But it was still kind of like, I understood a lot better the dynamics, I think, between all the like departments too. When I was from being on that huge set to it was, and how everybody kind of moved differently. It was just very interesting. So
what would be like two key differences that you picked up outside of one being a film, TV, outside of low budget, to like, what are like something that was like, oh, that stands out?
You know, what's funny is that, like, for example, Michael Offer being the director of my, the pilot episode of How to Get Away with Murder. And then like Brittany Rafalak, who was the director of Consumption, the film that I was in as the lead. It's so funny because she's a Black woman and he's a white man. Yeah. I think he's Australian. And they both kind of like, you know, would check in with their departments heads and then would like think a lot about things.
Yeah.
And wouldn't be super like loud and overly commanding on set. That's one thing that I was like, okay, there's kind of like a chillness to these specific like two directors that I really appreciate.
Would you take as a director?
Yeah. I think generally like my demeanor can be laid back.
I think so. Yeah. I think in a good way, like a chilled, you get things done, but it's like, you're not in their face. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny because like I've been on sets before How to Get Away with Murder and since, where you had directors that were super aggressive and super loud and quite honestly had toxic sets.
Yeah.
And I just remember like staunchly thinking to myself, I do not want that. And I will not tolerate that on my sets.
Period.
And I don't want to be an actor on a set like that. That's not fun to me. Because then you tend to be really pretentious and take yourself a little too seriously and like everyone's doing their best.
Yeah.
So why are you shouting?
Yeah. It's like, relax, calm down. Just
chill
out.
Belittling and stuff, like, no.
Wow.
So yeah, that was one major difference that I noticed. And then I noticed another difference would be, it's funny, obviously, like, because of budgetary differences.
Yeah.
But there was like, you know, multiple cranes on How to Get Away with Murder that the cameras were mounted on. And then like, you know, for Consumption, I think most of it was handheld. I forget what kind of camera it was. It might have been like a Red Dragon. I can't remember. But yeah. And so that affected like how we clocked the camera, I think, as an actor. It was like on How to Get Away, I didn't even notice the cameras.
Yeah.
You know? And with Consumption, it was like in your face and like, you know, like you were much more interacting with it, which is its own dance.
Yeah.
But
and an interesting way of like training you too, in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was like a 3-camera setup too on How to Get Away. So, yeah, it was really, really cool.
So cool.
I know. That was so fun. I think it was like such a weird place to start on. It's like a really high bar to set.
Yeah.
But it was incredible. Michael Offer, man, I tell you, just is so fun and sweet.
And them scarves.
Them scarves, I know.
I love it. Energy. And we love How to Get Away with Murder. So yeah, I actually need to go revisit that show. It's been a while. I used to want to do the whole law thing at one point. And I was watching
That's right. You know, it's funny because like I was so nervous that like my friends and I were like, should we do a little watch party for the pilot? And then we were like, no, I don't know what's going to happen. And also we were fully aware that like we may be cut out of a lot of scenes, which actually I think like we were.
Yeah.
But also my hair was straight.
Oh my
so
goodness.
I look different.
Oh my goodness.
I look super different. Yeah. Most people like, you know, it's funny when it aired, a bunch of my friends were like texting me, be like, is that you in there? And I'm like, yeah, it's me. And I had my gray streak because, that's my, it's not a birthmark, but it's
genetics.
Genetic. Yeah. My dad had it. So I've had it since I was like 7 years old, but now I got rid of it. It's too distracting. But, I had that and my hair was super straight and I feel like a lot of people didn't recognize me, but then the ones that did were like unsure, but it was fun. It was kind of fun, everyone.
So y'all go check out Rhym. Go watch the pilot to How to Get Away with Murder and you can go see Rhym.
See if you can spot me.
Like a spot and let us know.
Like, what's that game? Waldo, where's Waldo?
Where's Waldo? Where's Rhym? Where's Rhym? There she is. Can you find Rhym? I'm thinking about Dora the Explorer.
Oh my gosh.
That is amazing.
Yeah, that was fun. And I love hearing your story too. Gosh, it's so powerful that was right out the gate. Jameela was like,
boom, baby. I love it. I love the energy. But it makes me think about like, and here I go trying to get all deep with it for a second. But I'm like, it makes you think about like how you're always in the energy space of like what your life purpose is supposed to be. It just shows up in a different way. Or like the things that are supposed to be meaningful and meant for you in your life.
It's true.
And I'm like, I'm always trying to share these type of stories and lights. It's so interesting.
And what's funny is that I think the month before How to Get Away with Murder, I moved to New York because I was like, I need to get my SAG card.
See?
And that was the first time I was like, maybe I should be union. Like I would love to try that process. And I had read online so many horror stories of how difficult and how long that can take. And it's such a lottery because you can be an extra on hundreds of sets and not get your vouchers and enough vouchers to be, and I forgot what they were, waivers to be SAG eligible. Yeah. And here I am like a month later, I got a call from the casting director and it was just like, oh, and I love her too. The casting director is in Philly. She's like the big one. She's amazing. I love her. She casted all the big movies, all the big shows. Nice. She's been around forever. I cannot believe I forgot her name. It's been a while.
It's all good.
They're called Heary Loftus Casting. Heary Casting. Diane Heary. Dope. She so great. I mean, I remember she like considered me after I had moved to LA. She even considered me for a role for Split, that was shot in Philadelphia, and I flew in just for that audition. But yeah, it's like they're amazing. So she called me and I was like, absolutely. And I moved back. I was there for like barely a month.
Are you kidding? I'm coming back right now.
Talk about manifestation.
Manifesting. Yep.
I was like, oh, I think I need to be union. I want to be considered for more union work and actually for union work. And I got the call
into existence.
And I got my SAG card right from that, from the lines too.
Amazing.
So to your point, when you're in alignment, things really click.
Things click. So speak what you want into existence.
Yes.
Okay.
So that was our we got to talk about our final thoughts.
Oh yeah. Cause we were just over here like, that's just nice ending on an end note. Yeah. Final thoughts. We were just talking about it earlier, and it's a book that I love that I need to get another copy. I don't know where I think my copy's back in Georgia, actually. The 4 Agreements. And it's a quick read. I tell everybody like just to check out this book. And the 4 agreements are: be impeccable with your word, which is speak with integrity, say only what you mean, avoid using words to speak against yourself or to gossip about others, use the power of your word to offer love, never use it to cause fear or pain in another or for yourself.
Oh.
So the thing that really stood out to me with that one was avoid using words to speak against yourself. Rhym was great because she'd be like, don't say that, And I'd be like, oh, dummy. Like, you know, like something unnecessary, but I'm like joking, but it's like, still, you got to be like very intentional about your language. That's why for the longest, I removed hard from my vocabulary. I don't like to say, oh, that's hard. I'll just say that's challenging to challenge. And it really shapes a lot of how I view things in life. So I'm very mindful and intentional about my words and my language. Outside of like the every now and again, like, oh, girl, I'm a dummy. Can't believe I left that at home. You know, still got to work on those type of things. But
Yeah.
that's another thing. The other agreement is don't take anything personally. So nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a result of their own dream or perception of their rules. We all make rules about how things should be, but when you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. I think especially as a child of an immigrant mother, a Black father, a Muslim girl, all the things. And I don't even want to say it like, in a sense, it's like just immigrant parents or a Black parent, but there's certain cultural things that come along, and I'm such a sensitive little soul, and I feel everything, and I used to take it. I used to be like, what happened? What did I say? I just want everyone to be loved and happy. Now I'm like, nah, fuck that. Like, get out of my face, bro. You're projecting. It ain't got nothing to do with me. Like, you know, when you gotta take accountability, like, all right, that's my bad. I fumbled. I can own my mistake. But a lot of times, like, y'all just be projecting. And that ain't got nothing to do with me. So that's a big thing. And don't make assumptions. Find the quiet courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and drama. With just this one agreement, you can completely transform your life, which is really, really true. I think we make assumptions about all sorts of areas of our life. This can be applied with career. Does my boss like me? Am I doing a good job? Am I messing up at the office? Or am I messing up on set? Like,
yes,
is this for me? Or just like your like friendships where you're worried, is so and so mad at me? Do you know, already jumping the gun, and then you just put yourself in a downward spiral, and it's like,
yes. No. And this applies in all even dating.
Oh, girl.
We get ahead of ourselves, like, girl.
Me. We, bitch. That be me. Oh my God. That's why I'm also going back to therapy, y'all. Like,
no, but yeah, assumptions. It's
assumptions
like
ruin things.
They sure do. And there's no communication there.
Yeah. You just assume and you just shut off and block it. And then it's like toxic. And lastly, always do your best. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different. And when you are healthy as opposed to sick, under any circumstance, simply to do your best, and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. And that's something I'm constantly trying to be mindful of and working on, is putting my best foot forward. I struggle in that area sometimes, but working through that. Yeah. So
I love that.
Those are like short versions of the 4 agreements. You should really read the book. When I first read it years ago, it literally, I was in a big manifestation era. Like everything was in alignment. I was healing a lot of blockages. That was one of the books that really helped. So yes, check out the 4 agreements.
I will. I've never heard, I've actually never read it, but I've heard of it. I remember it being pretty popular. Mm-hmm. And this is 4 agreements with yourself?
Yes. The 4 agreements you have to make for yourself.
Gotcha.
It's by Don Miguel Ruiz. My friends are going to butcher me now. Sorry if I butchered your name, dog. And it reveals the source of self-limiting beliefs that rob us of joy and create needless suffering.
Got you.
Yeah, check out the 4 agreements.
I sure will. I'll read that. I'll put that on in my Kindle list.
We love a good candle.
Yeah. My final thought is I kind of want to switch it up. I'm a huge, what's the equivalent of like cinephile for music? Music file?
I don't know.
I'm
just a big fan of music.
Yeah, that part. Yeah. So love music. I love like also underrated musicians and artists and like kind of newer artists.
Yeah.
Which is why I primarily listen to SoundCloud. Mm-hmm. I have Spotify, but I'm,
Side note, Rhym's Afrobeat SoundCloud mix is fire. Just want y'all to let the girlies know, let the folks know. Rhym out here. I was like, oh.
That's true. When's the first time you heard my Afrobeats playlist?
When you were in makeup when we were on set. When we were on there.
When we were on set, yeah.
And then I was like, girl, what is this? I said, back-to-back bangers. I said, what you know about? She said, oh yeah, you like my Afro beats, huh? You like my style? This is on my SoundCloud. I was like, oh, go on, Rhym. So yeah,
I curate my. I'm very picky about it.
I love it. She got the ear, mashallah.
Yes, a lot of people actually do love my Afrobeat playlist because that's one of the things I love to do. Actually, is on set. Especially as a director, I will have a Bluetooth, and I will play this playlist to kind of hype everybody up and set the tone for the day. Yeah. So, my SoundCloud, I've really discovered. I think I discovered her a few months ago, actually, but. When I fly, I like to listen to the same song over and over again. It's kind of weird.
Really?
Yeah.
What's that about? Now tell me about it.
I don't know what. Maybe it's OCD. I don't know, girl. But I don't know if y'all experience this either. But I think for me, and I've literally like grown up on a plane, and I travel a lot. So, but for takeoff, I get a lot of anxiety. And I think it's because just kind of like the difference in cabin pressure and also like you're kind of, when you're
you can
like,
die. We're going down.
If you're on a Boeing
know.
plane, probably.
Oh.
But when you take off, it's like, it's that feeling of like, you under your feet, you can like the plane kind of like does that, and you're like, oh shit, I'm really not on ground anymore. And it really like is so jarring for me. Ever since I was a kid, it would just be like, oh, it's like that one step off, you know, like feeling.
Oh, wait a minute.
You're like, wait a minute. So
I listen to a song too.
So I always have to listen to a banger raging song.
Okay,
a song that like. I have
get you going
blasting. That's just like, if I'm going down in flames, I'm gonna go down raging.
That's right.
So and for the longest, it was actually MIA's song, the Paper Plane song.
Yeah,
that song was my thing, and I would just be like, all I want and rage out.
And take your money. Hurry up. Get us in the air.
Get us in the air. We need to stabilize up there. And then once we stabilize, it's fine. And it's funny because
back to normal.
I don't have that sensation when we're landing. Only for takeoff.
No, fair. Yeah, same. I used to have to hold people's hands.
Yeah, I do. I actually hold my husband's hand. I was like, oh God. And actually on this flight, it's really funny. The flight to Montreal, I have like the Delta medallion thing. Period. And so they can like upgrade us or upgrade me. And
like, bye, honey.
Yeah, I've only actually done that once ever, and it was because it was first class. But
I was got like, to go, baby. I'll see you later.
You know, what was that movie where she put on the shades and was like, I don't know you.
Bridesmaids?
Yeah, it was Bridesmaids.
It's one of my favorite movies.
But yeah, so like they asked us on this trip a couple times actually, you know, oh, we have seats, but they're separate. Would you want them? And I was like, absolutely not. No, no, I'm not leaving my husband. He was like, oh, but I like to hold his hand, you know, and it's like such a jarring thing. So this time I found myself, I love this artist. Her name is Olivia Dean. She's incredible. Her music videos are so fun to watch as well. Yeah. But my favorite song of hers and what I had on repeat was Mama's Eyes. And actually it's Mother's Day. So recently. So I don't know. It just kind of was like the song, the cadence, her voice also is so sultry and deep. I don't know. I love female artists that have like deep, raspy voices. Yes. I don't know what that's about, but it just gets me. The hook. That song is incredible. Mama's Eyes. And there's like, I think there's like even like they do a lot of harmonizing in it too. It's just beautiful. There's like an a cappella part. So check it out.
I love it.
Olivia Dean, Mama's Eyes. The other songs I love of hers, my other two favorites are probably Slowly and Float. And she just is such a romantic. I mean, even in the style of the music videos, she just seems really dope. So I had that song on repeat, and that song actually talks about Mama's Eyes, talks about kind of your mother telling you like, just be yourself. And I think she uses a clip.
Call your moms.
Yeah, she uses a clip from her mom, I think like a recording, her voice. And she says, I am what I am. And basically it's kind of like reaffirming, like, be who you are.
Yes.
don't, conform or whatever. And
this is me.
Yes.
Yep. Take it or leave it, baby.
That's literally what she says. She says, take it or leave it. She says, I am what I am. Take it or leave it.
Listen, mama lived a long life. You ain't about to have me. So look, get it as he is. That's it.
Yeah. And it's just such a beautiful, like, how would you say, anthem to your mother, you know?
Love that.
It made me want to call my mom.
I saw this cute thing on a TikTok where this young woman was going to go on a trip with her mom and she wanted to curate a playlist. So she was asking random people, what song reminds you of your mom?
Oh.
And so they would put it in her Spotify or whatever, and then or whatever account, and then it curated a playlist for her and her mom. I know, it makes me so emotional.
I love that
it's so
much, especially because our moms don't live near us. They're on the East Coast.
We were talking about this. We were like, they're so far away.
I know.
And y'all just remember your moms are just these big little kids too, and just show them love. Show your parents love.
Yes, whenever you can.
So it's funny though.
That was our episode 6. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today. Hey guys. Follow us on TikTok. Oh, did you want to ask a question about we're talking about our acting experiences?
What do you want to hear about our past acting experience? Leave a comment in our TikTok videos. If you have any questions, or what are your past acting experiences? What was your first paid gig, and what was that like?
Yes. We want to hear it.
Stitch, respond, do all the things. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for following us. And, it's Two Film Shorties with number 2 on TikTok. Yep. And our personal IG accounts are I am Rhym.
Yep. And mine is Jameela.winters. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Holla.
Yes. And next week, we're actually for episode 7. Tune in. We're going to invite a special guest.
And we are going to talk all things horror, because someone here needs a little convincing to hop on the horror train. So stay tuned for that.
Not going to happen.
We'll see if our special guest can give a little something. So we're excited.
You can try. Don't forget to subscribe to Film Shorties on Spotify, Apple, and SoundCloud. Yes. And we'll see you next week.
And check out our YouTube. Can't forget YouTube.
That's right.
Yeah. Follow us on YouTube as well. Check us out. All right. Holla.
Thank y'all.
Peace.